All right, let's talk about parts of speech. This is a quick, hopefully, review. It may not be a review for everyone, but if we go through this and you don't know it, study it. There's things on Canvas for you to study. If we go through it and you do know it, just a review. You're going to be using it, so you should know it. Okay, let's start with nouns. Everybody starts with nouns, I think. Every time you learn about this, like nouns and then verbs, right? So noun, obviously, person, place, or thing. Most people are good with nouns, even if you're like one of those people who says, I'm not good with knowing parts of speech. You probably know nouns. Person, place, or thing, including ideas. So like the Pied Piper is a person. Hamlin is a place. Mice are things. Justice is an idea. Like the Pied Piper went to Hamlin, took away the mice, and meted out justice. There's also pronouns, which are words that take place of proper nouns. So instead of Pied Piper, you could say him. Instead of Hamlin, you could say there, it. Instead of mice, you could say they. Instead of justice, you could say it. So there's personal ones. They're referring she, he, it, they. You're just referring to those other pronouns. There's also, I'm going to move my microphone slightly. There we go. There's also demonstrative pronouns. Those are going to point out definite things, right? So like this versus that, or this and these versus that and those, right? So like this, something you have here, these, multiple things you have here, that is over there, or those are over there. So those are demonstrative. You could put that in place of any of these other nouns exactly the same way. That is my pointy multicolored hat. Those children are now mine. Is the thing that the Pied Piper would say. He steals children at the end of the story. There's also interrogative nouns. You're going to use those in questions, sort of like a pronoun. You can throw them into a question instead of a noun. Some of these are who or whom, what, which, and whose. So which is your strange flute? And you could say, that is my strange flute, or this is my strange flute. It's always a flute. I don't know what this guy's playing. Some kind of like weird, I don't know. It's a weird looking instrument. It's like real thin. I think this guy's smoking a cigarette. Who is that weirdo in the pantaloons? I am the weirdo in the pantaloons. You could throw that in. Or the Pied Piper is the weirdo in the pantaloons. So you can throw it in place of any noun. There's a theory that the story of the Pied Piper is actually like, I think it's a plague to explain the plague. So that's a good way to bring you down. Verbs. Most people are pretty good with verbs as well. They're describe an action or state of being, such as run, drink, yell, sigh, etc. One good way to figure this out if you're ever not sure is you can say Bill and Biff blah, and if it works in the sentence, it's a verb. Biff, I've learned this before, the Bill and Biff thing. The only Biff I can ever think of is Biff Tannen from Back to the Future, which I guess would mean that Bill is Bill S. Preston Esquire from Bill and Ted. They're not the same movie, but like, are they? Because there's a Back in Time. Anyway, so Bill and Biff run, Bill and Biff drink, probably pretty frequently. That would mean that they're all verbs if you can put it in there. Bill and Biff Pied Piper, well, that's a noun that you're throwing in there. Doesn't really work. Bill and Biff Hamlin, that doesn't make any sense. There are verbs that are in the form of to be. So Bill and Biff are, You can use am, is, are, were, etc. Now, there is a caveat here, because if they precede another verb, then those are helping verbs or auxiliary verbs. So they were running. Well, were is a verb if it was they were. Like if you're getting existential with it, you're like, they were. They're dead now, but they were. Then that would be a verb. But if they were running, then the were is an auxiliary verb. Running is the actual verb. So it's a helping verb. It's helping get the idea across of running. And that brings us to the auxiliary verbs. They're helping verbs. They always precede a verb. And they're a lot of the same things we've already talked about. Am, is, are, has, will, were, was, had been, should have. They should have been running. Running is still your verb. They were running. They should not have stolen that sports almanac. Or he should not have stolen that sports almanac. So they were running. Running is still our verb. He should not have stolen that sports almanac. Stolen is our verb in this case. Don't confuse verbs and auxiliary verbs. This is, it's probably going to happen if you are not thinking about it deeply while you're working on it. So there are some questions that you'll probably see in quizzes, possibly exams. Make sure you read everything. Think about the auxiliary verbs. Biff is happy. Happy is a state. It's describing Bill or Biff. I forget which one's happy. It actually should have been Bill is happy. It makes a lot more sense. Bill is happy. Is verb, because happy is describing. So Bill is, and then a state. That's the verb. Biff is smoking money. So Biff is smoking money. Smoking is the verb here. And Bill, if you have seen the movie, he's smoking, not money. Okay, adjectives. Here's a really cute bear. This looks like my dog. My dog is not a bear, but his name is Oso. Adjectives. Adjectives are words that describe nouns. We're going to talk about adverbs in a second. Adverbs, of course, are words that describe verbs. And so in my head, I always think of these as I always think of adjectives as adnouns, because we've got adverbs and then you've got adnouns. But an adjective, they're going to describe nouns. So the bear was what? Anything you can throw in here that isn't a verb is an adjective. So the bear was happy. Was would be our verb, and then happy is the state of the bear. He is new, he's scary, he's cute, he's small, he's bright, he's strange, he's enlightened. Because he's been hanging out with Bill and Ted. The Bear's also a great TV show. And if you haven't seen it, stop taking this class for right this second and watch that show. Unless it's getting close to a deadline. You should have been working on this earlier. Then don't, but do it next week. So adjectives. Adjectives are usually pretty good. I don't have a ton on adjectives. Describe the nouns. The bear was cute. The bear was small. The bear was enlightened. All these words that describe how the bear was are adjectives. Adverbs. People have a lot of trouble with adverbs. So we're going to do a little bit of extra adverbery here. Adverbs describe verbs, just like adjectives or adnouns. They should totally be called adnouns. Describe nouns. Adverbs describe verbs. But they also describe adjectives, and they describe other adverbs. Crazy, right? But that's just how, the English language works, man. So they can describe verbs, adjectives, and other adverbs. So think about this. He ran quickly. Quickly is your adverb. It's describing how He ran quickly. But we can also say he ran very quickly. Well, in this case, very is describing quickly. So you've got an adverb, very is an adverb, and it's a describing quickly. Quickly is also an adverb. So you're describing the adverb that describes how he ran. Very quickly. How, where, or when, condition or reason. You can see these guys. My head kind of covers it up a little bit, but that's what they're saying. This one is saying that to the other guy. In the Canvas site, you will find Schoolhouse Rock videos about all of these things. Nouns, verbs, adjectives, totally should be called adnouns, adverbs, conjunctions. I'm not sure if we have ones on the other things we're going to talk about, but on most of these things, there are Schoolhouse Rock videos. Okay, so here's the thing. Schoolhouse Rock, this is from the 70s. I wasn't born in the 70s. Most of you weren't born in the 70s. Most of you weren't, like, your parents were just born in the 70s. So, they're old, right? But they're actually pretty good. And the songs will get stuck in your head, and then you'll know these things. It's the reason they haven't been redone. When I was a kid, and like this was longer ago than when you were a kid, than most of you by a decent amount, but not when they were originally running. They were still being rerun. And this is decades after their original run. They're still being rerun. And like, I poop you not, like some of these are totally stuck in my head. And they do help you figure out some of these things. Anyway, point is, if you're unsure on any of these things, check out all these Schoolhouse Rock videos. This is a still from one of the Schoolhouse Rock videos, and it'll get stuck in your head. How, where, or when, condition or reason. These are all things adverbs can tell you. So, how was it done? Where was it done? Over there. He just kicked the ball over there. He just now kicked the ball. Adverb. Just now. When. So that's another one. Condition or reason. That's a little bit harder to figure out, but I think you'll figure it out as we talk more about the adverbs. Some adverbs could be like gracefully, truly, happily, thoughtfully. Biff is thoughtfully smoking money. So thoughtfully would be your adverb there. There is a rule, the ly rule. It's a general rule. So essentially what's going on here is if a word has ly at the end, it is an adverb. But it does not mean that every adverb has ly at the end. It also, there's a few words that have ly that aren't, but they just wouldn't. Ly is a suffix, then it's an adverb. But there are adverbs that don't have ly as a suffix, like very, quickly is, swiftly, yes. But then when we say like now, it doesn't have an ly at the end. Over there, those don't have ly at the end. But they're describing some of these things that adverbs describe. So let's do a little bit of, since these can be a little trickier, let's do a little bit of I totally gave that one away. Sorry. Let's do a little bit of a quiz. Here are some sentences. She smiled suspiciously. It was too hot. He sang very softly. John works hard. Susan climbed higher than Green Boots. And Breaking Bad is the most critically acclaimed show. Go ahead and pause the video right here and write down what you think the adverbs are. So go ahead and pause. Okay, you paused. And now you've not paused now. So we're going to go through these. So I gave the first one away, but she smiled suspiciously. should be pretty obvious, even though I accidentally gave it away suspiciously. How did she smile? Suspiciously. It was too hot. Too, in this case. Was is your auxiliary verb in this case. It was hot. It was too hot. Too. Actually, hot is describing how it was also. So I should have circled that. Too and hot. So sorry about that. Next one. He sang very softly. Very softly. Very is modifying softly. Softly is modifying how he sang. So very softly. John works hard. How does John work? Slowly, hard. I was just thinking, if you added ly to the end of hard, it would be totally different, right? But then that's that same old joke about like working hard or hardly working. And then I realized that's not funny. It's old. Susan climbed higher than green boots. Higher is the adverb, and then green boots is modifying higher. Green boots is a landmark on Everest. There are some boots. Breaking Bad is the most critically acclaimed show. This is true. Most critically. So acclaimed is the verb. So critically acclaimed doesn't, like, usually you'd hook those together as like critically acclaimed, but that's just you're hooking together like how it was acclaimed. So you're like hooking an adverb onto it. In this case, it's most critically acclaimed show. It's acclaimed. How is it acclaimed? It's acclaimed by critics, so it's critically acclaimed. And critically follows our ly rule. It has the ly at the end, so that's the adverb. And then most is modifying critically acclaimed. It's the show that's most critically acclaimed. It's not just a critically acclaimed show. It is the most critically acclaimed show. Some words. The same word can have different functions, like fast. Dominic Toretto likes fast cars. You can also say he drives too fast and too furiously. Stop driving so fast and angry. And in this case, fast is working differently in either of these sentences. So it can either be an adjective and an adverb. Again, go ahead and pause. Draw a line. Well, you need to draw a line. Do whatever. Decide which version of fast is an adjective and which is an adverb. Pause. Okay, you're back. So the adjective is fast cars, the fast in fast cars. It's describing the car. So that's a noun. Likes is the verb. In this case, there is no adverb. It's a noun. It's a verb. It's an adjective, and then it's a noun. Fast cars. Fast is an adjective. However, he drives too fast. You've got drives. You've got he is your pronoun, not just a noun, it's a pronoun. Drives is your verb. And then to, of course, is an adverb. And then fast is also an adverb. It describes how he drives. So fast cars, it can act as an adjective. It can also act as an adverb. So a lot of times you'll see that there are words that have, it's the same word has multiple functions. It can be used in different ways, is what I'm saying. And so don't just assume that one word is always going to be the same part of speech. It can function differently. Okay, let's talk about prepositions, conjunctions, and articles, or PCA, as it's commonly referred to. It's not commonly referred to that way. Nobody refers to it like that. Prepositions are relation words. So how does something relate to another? On, in, above, under, through, from, by, after, etc. So the fast car is on the road. On is a preposition. I have something prepared for all of these. I didn't have one prepared for that. The fast car is on the road. It's a preposition. Where's the fast car? It's on the road. Conjunction, they're going to join things together. And, but, or, for, yet, etc. Really, and, but, and, or are the most commonly used ones, right? So I went to the store and I ate some ice cream. So you're combining two sentences. I went to the store, period. I ate some ice cream, period. And I went to the store, but they didn't have the ice cream I wanted. I went to the store, period. They didn't have the ice cream I wanted. I decided I could either go home or I could just eat this crap. I decided I could go home. I could just eat this crap. And that's how I ended up with the worst ice cream ever. So it's joining two phrases. You've got like a complete sentence or a complete phrase, and you can join it together with and, but, or. There's other words that are conjunctions. Most of, like, probably 90%, if not more, are going to be and, but, and, or. So if you just want to put those in, you can. Know that there's others. None of the sentences that you're given are going to use any conjunction other than and, but, and, or. We're not going to get too fancy with them. And last, you've got articles. Articles are a type of determiner. So you can say a or an something, and then you can also say the something. A and an is an indefinite determiner. It just says it's not really a definite thing. So here at the top, I've got an apple. It's an apple. It could be any apple, but it's an apple. And then at the bottom, I've got the apple. You can tell because there's a crown on it. The apple is obviously something special. It's the apple. And if you were talking, to someone, and you said, "Oh, I saw a woman today," and you'd be like, "That's a weird sentence. There's lots of women. Why are you saying it like that?" But if they said, I saw the woman today," it's like a woman that's been following you, and she's being real creepy for some reason. Maybe she's taking pictures. Does she work for a shadowy cabal? Maybe. Does she have apples? Does she have the apple? So the really implies that there's some sort of history, something known. It's the woman. There's a reason why we should know that woman or that apple. So it's a definite determiner. It's the definite one. Okay, that's it? Yes, that's it. And then it goes into derivational and flexional morphemes, which is a totally different lecture. So that's the end of this. Like I said, If this was a review for you, that's great. If it wasn't a review for you, there's lots of things on Canvas for you to practice with. Do the Mad Libs a few times. That'll help you kind of solidify what words need to go where in a more fun way than just like looking at a dictionary. Okay, see you in the next lecture.